time-traveling celebrities, fact or fiction, doppelganger or clone like George Clooney. You've seen these pictures. You know what we're talking about. Either these people have good genes or they're skipping through time. Or perhaps there's something else going on. Now, of course, time travel isn't stated to exist, but it's been a topic of science fiction for quite some time. Time travel. What is time? Ladies and gentlemen, well, we're always in the present. It's always now. That's what time it is. It's right now. It's always like that. It's always been like that for people. And chances are it will always be like that for people. This is now. Now you can think about yesterday and you can think about tomorrow. And so those are two different points in time. Yesterday was the past, tomorrow is the future. Now you can think about the past because it already happened. You can remember the past, we should say. But you can't remember the future. Would it be nice if you could? What would it be like if you could remember the future before it happened? What would that be like? Would you be like some kind of fortune teller? Could something like that happen? Ladies and gentlemen, the mystics think so. People looking into crystal balls and the like think so. And to a certain extent, people that read the horoscope think so. They think they're looking into the future. Now, what does the Bible tell us about looking into the future? What does it tell us about divination and fortune telling? It's an abomination. It means that we don't have faith in providence. And that's a grave thing, ladies and gentlemen. But imagine that fortune telling the future, if you will, existed. Imagine if you could remember the future. What does that mean? It means that, in a sense, you're traveling through time. Now, are these people that are fortune telling and the like, are they traveling through time? Or are they being told what's going to happen by evil spirits, familiar spirits, as it's called? We don't really know. As far as people are concerned, maybe some people think they know, but we don't really know. It seems like people are getting information from the future. They say that's how all the technology came into the world. They were inspired by evil spirits from the future. But it would seem that information is coming from the future into the present somehow. Is it through a time machine? Is there something else going on that we just don't understand? It's quite possible, ladies and gentlemen. Chances are these celebrities didn't just have some lucky break on the casting couch. Chances are it isn't their talent that brought them into the position that they're in right now. These may be billionaires from the past or billionaires from the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we just don't know. But you have to take into consideration the possibility that we're dealing with an enemy that can tell the future. Now, this isn't certain, but it's possible. And to what degree, ladies and gentlemen, to what degree can they tell the future? That is the question. Can they plot out every little minute of your life? Is it more general than that? Is it just big events that show up on the radar? This should be open to scientific study and discourse. And how do you test for something like that? Well, obviously, as a targeted individual, you know the Matrix is going to try and jump out of the bushes at you, which they do all the time. And so you have to think about that. You have to think about, did these people just jump out of the bushes because they knew you were coming? Or are these people just everywhere? Ladies and gentlemen, are they just everywhere? Now there's anecdotal video of time travelers. We don't know if this is some kind of tourism. How would you like to go back to the 1950s? Oh, please take me back to the 1950s. Please, where do I get on that ride? And so perhaps we got some time traveling tourists just hanging around, right? Like this lady here on her phone, like, hey, I'm lost, where's the pickup point? We don't know how Westworld this world is. And we'll get into that in tomorrow's broadcast. This, of course, is an STF and Intel report. How's everybody doing out there? We got a lot of news to cover. But right now we're doing this report. Any case. What about it? How do you deal with an enemy that can tell the future? Chances are, since the beginning of the war between good and evil, if you will, this has been going on for quite some time. In the Bible, it tells us the beast system is coming thousands of years before it shows up. The enemy undoubtedly has some capabilities of telling the future. What does that mean exactly? It means that they can carve stones like Sumerian tablets, knowing that Noah is coming, knowing that Moses is coming, knowing that Jesus is coming. And so, quite possibly, they could be planting disinformation throughout the timeline. Then you start thinking about the Mandela effect, and we'd be here all day with things like CERN. You hear people talking about that. Are we still in our universe? And we could talk about that all day. But there's so many people that are seeing the same thing, like, well, we can't be on planet Earth anymore. So they think it's the Mandela effect. That's how psychotic the world has become. We're like, oh, no, we can't be on planet Earth anymore. Something happened. It must be CERN. It must be something huge, major. And I don't think we're going to have the time to talk about gateways, other dimensions, parallel universes, but perhaps in the next broadcast. But something has happened. And we're living through it right now. Major. We could talk about simple things that travel through time, like these pictures. These pictures have traveled through time to get here. And this picture was around in the now, in the physical, 150 years ago. It's been traveling for 150 years, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about that? So have many of these other pictures. And so there's a physical connection to 150 years ago in a picture. This is why you're not supposed to make graven images of anything that resembles people either. That's in the Old Testament. How many people know the Old Testament? That's been around for thousands and thousands of years. That just blows your mind. It should. But there are many things we could talk about that are just way beyond 101 and probably way beyond the scope of this broadcast. But the realm of possibilities is extensive when it comes to time traveling and the like. I think what is important to understand beyond the fact that we are time traveling at the speed of the human experience. Beyond that, I think it's important to talk about the possibility that ideas and perhaps even conversations are traversing through time in real time, like a telephone to the future, like a telephone to the past. I think that's a possibility that people have to consider. And how extensive is the transfer of information? Nobody really knows. But it's obviously a possibility. And so you have to act accordingly, as if the enemy knows what you're going to do tomorrow, unless you start acting like you know that they know. Once you start playing the game, you know that they know, then they know that you know, and then it becomes more complicated. Then we start going in loops, and we can start setting up diversions in time. But what does that mean, really? And I suppose this would be the fourth dimension of the battlefield. But you can't rule out the possibility that the enemy knows you're coming when you're going somewhere. And right now it's the grocery store, the shopping mall, online, etc. But tomorrow it could be a trench, it could be a forest, it could be a city, it could be a building. And so, how do you know? And beyond that, how do you win on that kind of battlefield? You got to be perfect. You got to be perfect. And so it's important to do the right thing, because that's the nature of our cause, doing the right thing. If you're doing the right thing, like picking up litter at the right time, then the bullet will just fly above your head. But if you don't do the right thing, you look at the litter and you're like, whatever. Then comes the stray bullet. That makes the difference in this matrix, always doing the right thing. We call it a matrix, but it's not like a simulation. It's a physical construct. Instead of ones and zeros, it's electrons and protons, and then there's time. But everything that you can observe in creation gives you insight. We'll have to leave it there for this broadcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in. But expect the unexpected out there. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.